process doesn't necessarily mean the shape that the institution took. And like, you have temple, you have president, you know what
Yeah.
it means to establish a
Mm.
temple.
Mm. Mm.
So many
Exactly.
legalistic
Yes.
and financial,
Yes.
and you need a lawyer, and you need a real estate attorney, and you need
So many.
this, and then you need to maintain the property,
Right.
and then you have to make renovations
Oh my.
and rehabilitations and um, and all of that. But that's not
Mm.
what we mean exactly by and those are mechanical things. But that's not what we mean by mechanical. What we mean is that one can do one can get up early, one can take a shower, one can attend Mongol Arctic, one can chant Tulsi Puja, one can chant 16 rounds, one can attend a class, and one can take prasadam. So one can do all these things,
Mm.
but a robot can do all those things. And you can program them. And I've seen some advertisements and things. People, and they're working on robots now that you can have that will do everything in your home.
Mm.
But that's another issue. So I was thinking, will people uh, have robot wives and
Mm.
husbands? But yeah, technological advancement. But what we mean by mechanical is that a devotee, one of our peers, a god brother,
Mm.
he can do all these things, but there's really no devotional feeling in his heart because he's thinking, one, I don't have the ability to feel love for Krishna or for my spiritual master, but as I've been educated by my god brothers and in classes and whatnot, that if I just do these things, a feeling of love, I'll be blessed in reciprocation. I'll be blessed. Love will be bestowed on me from an outside source, meaning from our spiritual master in Krishna, that and all I have to do in order to get that, and then I'll feel love for Krishna. And all I have to do is keep the program, keep the like if you go and have your car serviced at the auto shop, they have a checklist. They do they don't only address the immediate problem that you come in with, but they have a checklist and they go through, we check this, we check this, we check this. So we have a checklist of activities, prescribed activities in Krishna consciousness. And it appears to me that the overriding consensus of understanding or misunderstanding is that if we just keep the checklist really with determination, we're obedient, we're dutiful, that we will earn
Mm.
we will earn a reward, and that love of Krishna will be bestowed upon us.
Mm.
And and I'm going to present a number of quotes from Srila Prabhupada that says that this is not the way it works. Um, Srila Prabhupada says that well, my next class will be what is love.
Mm.
Next,
Okay.
and so in that class, I have quotes from Srila Prabhupada. explains that we all have this ability right now. And that the only thing we have to do is take this loving propensity, which is our inherent, it's part of the spirit soul that is being misapplied to illusory objects of affection, and apply the same feeling to Krishna and spiritual master. And that then one starts to have when the sincere feeling in the heart is there, then one experiences a very subtle sense of reciprocation. And that gives him the conviction that this is real. It's not Disneyland. Krishna consciousness is real. It's not something make-believe. And that's the difference between, so a mechanical approach is blind following, because we don't have that feedback that gives us this conviction or increase in our faith. And Srila Prabhupada says in 434 of Gita that blind following is condemned.
Mm.
He wants us to have this under this conviction. Otherwise, we won't be able to. We may not be. I had a very close friend who was vice president of one temple, and he quit.
Mm.
After many years, he said it just didn't work for me. So, but he didn't understand. Of course, he was offensive in different ways. So I want to deal with this because I feel that it's very pervasive,
Mm.
and love does not mean. There's also a consensus of opinion amongst our peers that when we talk of love in Krishna conscious context, that this is equated with the symptoms of ecstatic love of God. It's no, we can have love at our level, um, uh, and it's just like if you go to Las Vegas to gamble. Of course, we don't. No, but the idea is there. The goal of the activity is to make money, but in order to do that, you have to bring money to the table. If you go into a business as an entrepreneur, the goal is to make money, but you need startup capital. So it takes money to make money. In the same way, and that's just a crude example, but in the same way, it takes love to get love. It's we only it's not that it's bestowed upon us, and there will be a quote like that in this lecture. It's not. It's that what we have when it's rightfully directed towards the right object of our affection, it we it begins to expand. We when it's rightfully directed, we get a sense of reciprocation, and our faith increases, and our enthusiasm increases, and we want more of it.
Mm.
You're getting a taste, and we start to. So Srila Prabhupada once said to me, "Have you seen this?" He rolled up his sleeve and said, "Have you seen this?"
Mm.
Meaning someone is taking drugs. He said, Krishna consciousness is like that. In
Okay.
other words, instead of being addicted to sense gratification, when we start to get some taste of this reciprocation, we gradually become addicted to, I want to be always feeling the sense of connection. What Srila Prabhupada said, fixed up, fixed up.
Mm.
So, but it doesn't mean mechanically I have a friend who lives in Alachua, and a devotee who was one of the biggest book distributors in ISKCON came to stay overnight, and he put him in a bedroom. And then the next morning he went to the room, and there was no answer at the door. And he went in, and the fella had committed suicide, hung himself.
Wow.
So, and he was, so it's not what we do, it's the consciousness with which we do it. And yet this is not being preached. On the contrary, that if we just do what we're supposed to do, love will be benedicted upon us. And people are waiting for that bolt of lightning to come from the spiritual world. Zap! And we have love of God. But it's not like that. In Krishna consciousness, quote, the means and the goal are one and the same. The goal is love, the means is love. But when we do love according to our present capacity, we start to feel a different type of feeling within ourselves that tells us, oh, this is nice.
Joy.
And so I want to address this because
We
it's
can begin in a few minutes. Jay, we can
you.
start now, Prabhu.
Oh, and you tell me when we come to about 10 minutes before what you're at 12 o'clock, 10 minutes before 1 o'clock.
Right.
So that I don't talk too long. I don't think people want to hear too long. It's too
Yes.
much.
So we can start now, Prabhu.
Okay, you tell me. I
Yeah.
start. All right, Krishna. Thank you. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Yadesha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you. So today's subject is that we're trying to cultivate this Krishna consciousness, and how does it work? How does it work that we cultivate this Krishna consciousness? There seems to be a consensus of opinion that if we simply do all of the prescribed activities, that we will be rewarded. We will be rewarded, that love of Krishna will be bestowed upon us because we've been dutiful, because we've been obedient. And it's just like if you go and you have a job and you do your job nicely, at the end of the week, you get paid. So there's some difference between starting the week and getting the pay at the end. This is a linear progression of events. But in the spiritual life, it says transcendental. It's not linear. That the means and the goal are not different. Sometimes there may be a tendency to think, I have notes here. If I rigidly adhere to the bona fide checklist of do's and don'ts, arise early, attend Mongol Arti, Tulsi Puja, chant 16 rounds, a long list, one day I will receive Krishna's blessing, and Krishna will reveal himself to me, and in my heart, I will experience feelings of love for Krishna. Therefore, every day I'll complete the prescribed checklist of devotional activities, and in this way, I'll, so to speak, earn my way forward. And this way, I'll purchase my ticket to Krishna Loka. And so Srila Prabhupada, he will, I have done some collection of what Srila Prabhupada says in this regard. And this is the purpose of today's talk, or the goal or the focus of today's talk. So Srila Prabhupada says, and this is in 1966, to his beginning students in New York. In March 28, 1966, Srila Prabhupada's lecturing on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 47. And here's what he says. Now, so far scriptures are concerned, there are different scriptures all over the world in the civilized society. But Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that, quote, the essence of all scripture is to understand my constitutional position. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute. So what is my constitutional position? My constitutional position is that I have love for Krishna without wanting anything in return. That's my constitutional position. So the essence of all, so Srila Prabhupada says, there's different scriptures all over the world, and in Bhagavad Gita tells us what is the real business, that the essence of all the scripture is to understand my constitutional position. That's all, Srila Prabhupada said. That's all. All the rituals. But we should not be stuck up to the rituals or the formulas, meaning we shouldn't just think that by doing all these rituals and following these formulas is going to work to get us this love. He says we should not be stuck. That's all the rituals, but we should not be stuck up to the rituals or the formulas then he pauses. Of course, in the preliminary stages, we require to stick to the formulas of religious scripture, but we must know that the whole idea is targeted to understand my real position. This is the whole idea of all scripture. So he's saying that even though we're doing everything properly, we should understand that what's really the goal of it, what's really wanted is that we that we cultivate our love for Krishna. So, so, so the question is, so how is that love realized? Okay, how do we get that? So, the next heading in our compilation here is that observing the rules and regulations and the ceremonies and the rituals is not sufficient. It's not enough. And here's Srila Prabhupada's explanation. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha. He's quoting. Then Srila Prabhupada explains, niyamagraha means simply to stick up to the rituals. Then he explains, just like people in every religion, there are some rituals that, and then in our Hindu religion, the people are advised to observe some ceremonies. We do Tulsi Puja, we do artiks. Then Srila Prabhupada continues, in every religion, the same system is there. They go to temple, you go to church, and the Mohammedans, they go to mosque. And similarly, there are different systems, different church, different temple, different religion. There are slightly different systems. But if one is simply sticking up to the system without seeing how much spiritual progress I am making in my life, meaning, is my love coming forward? Then that is waste of time, Srila Prabhupada says. I'll read that again. But if one is simply sticking up to the system without seeing how much spiritual progress I'm making in my life, then that is waste of time. That is called, Srila Prabhupada, that is called niyamagraha, simply observing the rules. And niyamagraha also means that you should not neglect the rules, should not neglect the rules and regulation. At the same time, you should not stick up, meaning confine yourself to the rules and regulation. And that was in 1966 in New York. So Srila Prabhupada gave the above lecture March of 1960. From the very beginning, Srila Prabhupada is cautioning us that mechanically complying with a checklist of instruction, or to use his words, simply sticking up to the system, that is waste of time. So why is it a waste of time? It's a waste of time because, quote, simply sticking up to the system, unquote, will not reawaken spontaneous feelings of love for Krishna. Therefore, the question arises, what is the essential ingredient in our cultivation of Krishna consciousness? And so here's another quote from Srila Prabhupada, where he explains that the essential ingredient is love. Quote, you can discharge your duty very nicely, but you have to see whether you're developing attachment for Krishna. And attachment means love, whether you are trying to satisfy Krishna. That is the test. If that is not done, simply formulas, if you execute the formula, as I explained the other day, niyamagraha, without any heartfelt desire to attain satisfaction of Krishna, then Sutta Goswami says, it is simply laboring and waste of time. And this was in 1972. This class was 6 years later than the previous class we quoted. And Srila Prabhupada saying the same thing. The essential ingredient is, quote, whether you're developing attachment for Krishna, and an attachment, Srila Prabhupada explains, means love. And love, Srila Prabhupada explains, means that we have this desire in our heart to attain the satisfaction of Krishna. It's not that we know, for instance, oh, Krishna wants these things. Of course, I'm doing them to please Krishna. But that's official. He wants us to have a personal feeling that Krishna, please accept my service. That's what he means by having a heartfelt feeling that Krishna is satisfied. Because Krishna only wants our love. So what is this satisfaction? Krishna is satisfied by the feelings of love in our hearts. Without cultivating a feeling of love, our japa, our kirtans, our pujas, our cleaning the temple, our book distribution, he's saying simply laboring and waste of time. Now, as Srila Prabhupada makes the point very strongly, you can discharge your duty very nicely, but without this feeling of love in our hearts, simply laboring. So why is it a waste of time? It's a waste of time because acting in that way, it will not bring us closer to Krishna. Uh, we can not make spiritual. Why can't we make spiritual advancement in this way? So Srila Prabhupada answers this question in his purport in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, verse number 2. Why do these things? Why doesn't this satisfy Krishna? Why can't we just do everything we're supposed to and take it for granted that Krishna is satisfied? Here's Srila Prabhupada's statement, one sentence. Quote, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 2, purport. Quote, Krishna accepts only the love with which the things are offered to him. I'll say, quote, Krishna accepts only the love with which things are offered to him. See, Krishna doesn't need anything, so what can we can have $1 billion and put it on the altar, but Krishna doesn't need $1 billion. He wants our heart. He wants in other words, it's not what we do that pleases Krishna. It's the loving attitude with which we do things that moves Krishna to accept our service. So Krishna, then Srila Prabhupada says, we have to learn how to worship. That's the next heading. We have to learn how to worship. And this was from a lecture given in Los Angeles, California, December 13, 1973. Quote, you can worship Krishna anywhere, but you have to learn how to worship. And what is that learning? Bhaktya. That is the method. Therefore, Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. The Bhagavad Gita 9:26. You probably know the translation. Krishna is saying, offer me patram pushpam. Just offer me a little fruit, a little water, anything, and with love, and I'll accept it. It doesn't have to be anything great. It can be very small. But So the Srila Prabhupada continues. This Patram Pushpam is not the important thing. The important thing is bhakti, devotion. That is wanted. Without bhakti, if you offer Krishna even very big plate, Krishna is not hungry to take your food. He'll not accept. He'll not accept anything if you do not offer with your love, bhaktya, love and serving spirit. And then Srila Prabhupada continues, he plays the part of a devotee uh, so that he's sharing the mood with us, and he pretends, not pretends, but he's expressing the feeling that we should have. And what is that? My dear Krishna, you are so opulent. I have nothing to offer you because you have got everything. But I have tried to collect these things, to my best power, so I'm offering you. Kindly take it. Then Srila Prabhupada says, this is mantra. This is mantra. He says it twice. Don't require much mantra. You know, people, I'm breaking off from the text, they want to know what is the right mantra, this, that. This is all people want to do. People become preoccupied with, you know, it's like neck beads and tilak and shaved head and a dhoti and this and that and mantra. They want to, I don't have the right words for it, but there's a kind of thing where, just like um, a Guru Kripa, who was one of Yashodananda's sidekick. He traveled together with Yashodananda, and they were in India at the time, and it was, what is that time of year when they fast and they grow beards and they don't shave. I forget the technical name of and they only eat in a certain way. And they went to Srila Prabhupada and they had beards. And Srila Prabhupada said, what is this beard? And they said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, this is the way it's done now. He says, you take off those beards. Yeah. So people get all caught up, trying to do. So they want the right mantra. So Srila Prabhupada says, I I have tried to collect these things. You don't need anything, but I'm offering you. Kindly take it. He says, this is mantra. In other words, the essence of the mantra is in our attitude. So Srila Prabhupada says that we approach with all humility and please accept my service. Uh, um, so, says Srila Prabhupada continues, don't require much mantra. That meekness, that humbleness. Krishna, I am most insignificant. I have nothing to give you. And then Srila Prabhupada gives an example of Vidura. Vidura, now this takes place before the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna went to Hastinapur to try and convince Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, his father, don't make this war. Don't make this war. Yudhisthira Maharaj, he is the rightful emperor, and your Duryodhana is trying to usurp that position. Don't do this. Don't. So Duryodhana, he doesn't really recognize who is Krishna, and he said, but he's trying to be a politician, and he lives in the most splendid palace that we can't even imagine. Seats made of gold, etc. So, and he says to Krishna, all right, you come and you be my guest. And Krishna says, no, I don't want to be your guest. but he goes to Vidura. That's the brother of Dhritarashtra. And Vidura is living in a little hut, in a little shack. He's so he gives advice to Dhritarashtra and speaks in terms of scripture, but he lives very simply. So uh, Krishna goes to the house of Vidura to have supper. He was not going to the palace of Duryodhana. And he says, so Srila Prabhupada continues, Vidura invited him. And Krishna, he did not go to Duryodhana's house, very palatial building. Vidura, a cottage. So he went there. And Vidura, being in ecstasy, that instead of giving the fruit, banana, he was so excited. He was giving the skin, and Krishna was eating. So when he came to his senses, he saw that I have given only the skin, and Krishna is eating. So this is bhakti. This is bhakti. Krishna wants that. In other words, Vidura was overwhelmed with his love for Krishna. It wasn't, but Krishna was eating the skin of the banana because Vidura is giving with love. So this is what Srila Prabhupada, that he started this quote, you can worship Krishna anywhere, but you have to learn how to worship. And what is that learning in bhaktiya? That is the method. The love has to be there. Therefore, Krishna says, the important thing is bhakti. That is wanted. Without bhakti, you offer Krishna a very big plate. Krishna is not hungry to take your food. He'll not accept. He'll not accept anything if you do not offer with your love. Bhakti, love and serving spirit. So he's explaining. So here's another from 1973 in June 17. Srila Prabhupada's giving a lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 10th chapter, second verse. Srila Prabhupada speaking. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam buddhi yogam dadamitam. He's quoting from Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam. This Srila Prabhupada explains, quote, if you are engaged satatam 24 hours without any other engagement. Sarva Dharman, now Srila Prabhupada quotes another verse, 1866 from Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityagya, giving up all other nonsense business. Sarva Dharman, all dharma, all occupational duty, all, quote, simply if you are engaged in Krishna's business, Priti Purvakam, with love. Then Srila Prabhupada says, not as hackneyed. Not as hackneyed. I didn't look up the word hackneyed, but I mean something that we do without thinking about it. It's nothing. It means sentimental. Anyway, so Srila Prabhupada says, simply engaged in Krishna's business, Priti Purvakam, with love, not as hackneyed. And then Srila Prabhupada imitates the mood of some of his students. Quote, oh, here's the duty, chanting Hare Krishna. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Srila Prabhupada, you can hear this lecture. The way Srila Prabhupada chants very quickly with no feeling. Then Srila Prabhupada says, Not like that. With priti, with love. Chant every name. Hare Krishna. And here, and then he explains that Krishna is there present in that name. Here is Krishna. Here is Radharani. That kind of chanting quality, not not like that, not like that. Priti, tesham satata yuktanam priti. That priti is required. That is the essential quality. Patram, pushpam, phalam toyam, yome, bhaktya. Real thing is bhakti. Krishna is not hungry that you will give him some, give him some good food and he will eat it. Never mind in which way you give. Oh, then he does an imitation of us again. Oh, here is puri, halava. Krishna must eat. Krishna is not hungry for your puri halava. But if there is bhakti, if there is love, then he eats. Tadaham ashnami, quote, then I eat if there is bhakti, if there is love. Okay, we continue. Now, here's another quote from 1973. This one is in May the 6th. The section is that you cannot make Krishna must, M-U-S-T. We're thinking that Krishna must accept. So Srila Prabhupada speaks as follows. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yome bhaktya prayachati, patram pushpam phalam tayam. Krishna says that a little flour, a little water, a little fruit, that's all. If someone offers me with devotion and love, then I eat. Then Srila Prabhupada continues, Krishna is not hungry. Krishna is not hungry. He says it twice. Krishna is self-satisfied, Purna. But if his devotee offers him something with love and affection, then he accepts. So do not think that we have made such nice, sumptuous plate for Krishna. Krishna must eat. No, there is no such thing, must. You cannot make Krishna must. That is not possible. So Krishna will see how much you have love for him. Then he will accept. Otherwise, he'll reject. Yome bhaktya prayachyati. The real thing is bhakti. So either you offer prayers or you offer food stuff. Everything must be along with bhakti, devotion, love. Then Krishna will accept. And then I'm going to repeat this again from chapter 9, verse 2 purport of Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna accepts only the love with which things are offered to him. From that purport. And another in Los Angeles, December 13, 1973, without bhakti, if you offer Krishna a very big plate, Krishna is not hungry to take your food. He'll not accept it. He'll not accept anything if you do not offer with your love. Bhaktya, love and serving spirit. So here's another quote, and this one is in London. And this is also 1973, July 22 in London. He's lecturing on Bhagavad Gita first chapter, verses 28 and 29. Srila Prabhupada says, therefore, one who dies with full sense, remembering Krishna, oh, he is successful. In Bengali, it is said, bhajana kara sadhana kara murti yare hoy. If you, as Srila Prabhupada is explaining, you may be a very great devotee, he's being sarcastic. You may be a very great devotee, that's all right, but it will be tested at the time of your death. How you remember Krishna, that will be the test exam, the test examination. At the time of death, if we forget, if we become parrot-like, just like a parrot, Srila Prabhupada says, he chants also, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. But when the cat catches the neck of the parrot, it's not Hare Krishna. Ka, ka, ka. No more chanting Krishna. No more chanting Krishna. So artificial practice, this will not help us. Then, that, so from the very beginning, we have to practice heartfelt Krishna consciousness. If we are actually serious to go back home, back to Godhead, not that let it be left for 2 or 3 years before death. Oh, it is not so easy. It is not so easy. He's saying, Srila Prabhupada is saying, if we're thinking that it's not easy. It takes a lifetime of cultivating this feeling of sincerity that it's a personal relationship we're cultivating with Krishna. It's a personal relationship, just like as if you're in the same room with someone and you're saying, please, would you like, sit down and make yourself at home. Can I offer you something to eat? And you're taking pleasure in giving them something, and you're taking pleasure in seeing that they're enjoying it. It's personal. We have to be like that with Krishna. We have to be like that with Srila Prabhupada, because although we don't see them, they're all pervasive. It's transcendental to time and space. Transcendental means that Krishna can accept all of our affection, and he wants that. So, but if we think that we can develop that kind of mood, how do you develop that kind of mood? You develop that kind of mood is when we actually do like that. It makes us feel so nice in our heart that we want more of it. It's nicer than offering to anyone else. It's nicer than anything we've experienced, and we want. And instead of being lusty in a material sense, we become lusty for feeling our connection with Krishna. So we have to practice it a whole lifetime. Then when we're dying, our heart will be so much wanting that. It'll be our nature. It'll be automatic, and we will reach out to Krishna, and not like a parrot. So we shouldn't be chanting like the parrot. So then Srila Prabhupada said, another thing, not only will it not work, imagine, say I'm with you in the same room and I'm calling your name. Ramchandra, Ramchandra. And you say yes. What? And but I don't answer. I just keep saying Ramchandra. The point is that Krishna is present in his name. And if I call the name and I don't pay and I'm not paying attention or I'm thinking of something else, it's like having someone in your house, you're asking them to come in and you're not paying any attention to them. Even though you're calling their name and they're saying, yes, what can I do for you? But you don't pay them any attention as if they're not there. So Srila Prabhupada says that this kind of chanting is offensive. I'll read it. Not only is mechanical practice a waste of time, but Srila Prabhupada tells us that mechanical practice is offensive. Okay, quote, he is present by his name. He is present by his fame. He is present by his pastime. He's present by his associates. Anything in Krishna connection that makes Krishna present in that spot. This is actual fact. One has to realize it. That's all. Now, when you chant Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada continues, if we chant mechanically, then the effect is different. So, mechanical way of chanting is also another offense. So, offenseless chanting, we should be careful that the chanting should be offenseless. Then we shall realize Krishna is present by his name. He is present. You'll realize, and you'll have the same effect as you expect by meeting Krishna personally. So Srila Prabhupada said that we have, there are 10 offenses in chanting. One of them is to be inattentive. We're chanting. It's not bad, it's good, but we will not have the realization of our relationship with Krishna in this way. So the next thing is that all of these things, they make us feel good, even if we're doing them inattentively, even if we're doing them without love. They're so powerful, these practices, that Srila Prabhupada explains that mechanical practice of devotional activities, it will not awaken our dormant love for Krishna. However, the activities of pure devotional service are so powerful that even if we engage mechanically without a loving feeling in our heart, there will be, quote, a mitigation of the unwanted, superfluous miseries of material existence, to Srila Prabhupada's words. There will be a mitigation, means a lessening, a decrease of the unwanted, superfluous miseries of material existence. In other words, our anxiety will go away. We'll feel relaxed. We'll feel uplifted. We'll feel cheerful. You will feel mildly blissful. But he cautions us that our dormant feelings of love for Krishna will not be revived in that way. And this comes from, as a purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, verse number 6. This comes from that purport. It is, quote, it is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the dormant affection or love of God does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting. Okay, let's explain that. Let's talk about that. That to revive we have this dormant affection of love for Krishna. It's dormant in our hearts, but it does not come forward by mechanically doing these practices. Revival of the dormant affection of love of Godhead does not depend on mechanical system of hearing and chanting. This is Srila Prabhupada's use of the English language. It doesn't depend on a mechanical system of hearing and chanting. Srila Prabhupada is saying that this mechanical system will not produce this effect. In other words, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that mechanical hearing and mechanical chanting will not serve to revive our dormant affection of love of Godhead. Then Srila Prabhupada continues, but even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. So let's take a look at this. By engaging in Krishna conscious activities mechanically, there's going to be a mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Now, all of us can experience this in a nice kirtan or when we're vigorously chanting japa. But, quote, revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead will not be invoked in this way. Even, check this out, even a Mayavadi, even an impersonalist who mechanically hears and chants will feel a sense of liberation. And they do. There are Mayavadis who, there you can see them online. Some of them are Eastern people, some of them are Western people, and they don't believe in Krishna, but they're chanting. They're chanting Hare Krishna, and they're doing it with groups of people, and they're feeling good. But they're obviously their love of God will never, because they don't believe in God. They think that we're all God. So this is the potency of these forms. But if we wish to reawaken our dormant love for Krishna, we have to cultivate the ability to hear Krishna Katha and chant Krishna's names with feelings of love. So now we're going to summarize. I'll read what I have written. In the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, the means and the goal are one and the same. The goal is love of Krishna, and the means is love of Krishna. The means, it's small when we begin, but it grows as we cultivate it. But we have to, well, that's what we're cultivating. So, for example, yeah, we quoted this that if we go to start a business, you need startup capital and you want to make more money. You need money to make money. You need love to make love. So the only way in which we can reawaken our dormant love for Krishna is by loving Krishna according to our present inherent capacity. Just imagine if you were with Krishna in the same room and you wanted to give him something. We all place something on the altar before taking. We place some nice preparation of food stuff or some water. Imagine if you were in the same room. And Krishna came to visit you, or Krishna came to visit us, how we would say, Krishna, please sit down. Please take this. Is there something, is there any way I can make you more comfortable? You know, we have to be personal like that when we're making our offering. So, do you need little salt? So, uh, as we will explain I am intending to give more class to explain more on this subject, but in this class, I just wanted to make the point that mechanical practice is not what makes it work. That's all we're trying to say in this one class, is that by mechanically doing everything perfectly, it's not going to uh, reawaken our dormant feelings of love of Krishna. It just doesn't work that way. So we have to understand that this is part of our philosophy and that it's being taught improperly, that by whoever is teaching, that if we simply do these things one day, we'll have love of God. It doesn't work that way. We have to know how to do it. And 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 so as we will explain in more classes, hopefully, that we have this loving propensity already in our hearts. Srila Prabhupada explains this, and I'll be talking about it. It's simply being misdirected towards the service of illusory objects of affection or towards the service of our senses. It's the same loving propensity. Yeah. Uh, when this same love is rightfully directed to the real object of our love, we begin to taste the bliss of Krishna consciousness. We're not falling on the floor. We're not getting choked up. We're not, the tears may not be coming to our eyes like torrents of rain, but we feel something. And we say, oh, this is so nice. And we begin to think, when will I have the ability to live in this mood all the time? When will I begin to be able to live in this mood? Not to be in separation, but to be in connection, in relationship. We're cultivating our relationship. So we have these practices that we do. And it's not that the practice is the practice is like a container or a format through which we cultivate these feelings. It's not the practices in themselves that bring out these feelings. The practices are there as a channel through which we cultivate these feelings. And when we learn these feelings, it won't matter what we're doing. We can be tying our shoelace, we'll be doing it with that feeling. We can be digging a ditch, we can be planting vegetables, we can be driving the car. So, um, so that this is what we're trying to cultivate, but we cultivate it by cultivating it, not by doing a checklist of activities and waiting for it to be bestowed upon us, because it'll never happen. Srila Prabhupada explained that Krishna conscious one can be in this consciousness, this devotional, in a second. Or one may not come to that in millions of births. That's in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, purport. It's all a question. it's not what we're doing, it's the feeling in the heart. So although mechanical engagement in our prescribed devotional activities will not act on our hearts like the leaf on the tree is pouring water on the root, it will afford us a degree of liberation, a feeling of well-being. It is from this liberated platform that we can begin to enjoy a serving mood. Yeah, we can do these activities. We can chant good japa, and it will make us feel more relatively liberated. It's from that happy heart. Krishna says in 1855 that when the heart becomes very happy, mad bhakti labha te param, one can become a loving person from a relatively liberated position. When the nasochati nakangshati, not hankering for things, not desiring, not lamenting over the loss of anything, just feeling good in the heart. Krishna says that's the prerequisite for being devotional. That when you feel full in yourself and happy, then we're in a position we want to share that. And then, so the same feeling of wanting to share with someone that we feel affection for, that can be directed, same feeling towards Krishna. So the purpose here is not to discourage anybody, but to provide a sense of direction. That's all. Not to say you're not doing right, you're not doing this, you're not doing. It's not about that. It's with the hope of providing a sense of direction. As neophytes devotees, we're neophytes, we have to repeatedly hear these things. And that loving Krishna is as simple. You read the Krishna book. Krishna is killing Kamsa. You can take it as information, or you can be, when people go to a Trump rally, or they go to a rally of the politician, and they're cheering for him. Trump, Trump. Forgive me. So, so when we read that Krishna is killing Kamsa, you can be cheering for Krishna in your heart. It's real, it's alive, and we're feeling, because Krishna is enjoying all of these pastimes. Krishna is always enjoying in every mood that he has. He's in blissful. So you can, or any. So when we read about Krishna's pastimes, when we hear, we can feel, take pleasure in Krishna's pleasure vicariously. That's Krishna consciousness. That's love. Taking pleasure in Krishna's pleasure is love. That's all that love is. Love is simply vicariously enjoying someone else's happiness. That's all that love is. When you're happy for somebody else's happiness, it's not about, we say in the material world, love that people think, I want this person for myself, or I want to enjoy this person with my senses. That's not love. That's sensual desire, whatever. Love is simply taking pleasure in the happiness of others. A philanthropist, he gives something. He creates a hospital. He creates he feeds the poor. He gives people clothes. It makes him feel happy that other people are being made happy. That's all that love is. That comes from the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is the next door to spiritual life, because that same feeling carries over, can be, Srila Prabhupada says, transfer the account to Krishna. Same feeling. to take pleasure in. So when we taking pleasure in Krishna's pleasure, this is the meaning of love. And we can do that. We can do that in our present condition. We're not talking about ecstatic symptoms of God. If we do like that, it will continue to expand but it's called a devotional creeper. It grows. It produces fruits and flowers at the feet of lotus feet of Krishna. We start at the bottom. So, and that means that we're cultivating this devotional feeling from the time that we're planting the seed that Srila Prabhupada is giving us. Okay, Hare Krishna. I think you're muted.
Jai.
Oh,
We have Jonas Priya Prabhu. He joined a little late, but the class will be on YouTube. And so we discussed the mechanical process, and Srila Prabhupada gives that understanding that even with the mechanical process, there is some benefit, but this is not the ultimate goal, which love of Godhead will not be given. The ultimate thing, back to Godhead or the love of God that Prabhupada is, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving.
therefore, Srila Prabhupada, I was once in a room with Srila Prabhupada and one of his GBC men, a Treya Rishi,
Huh.
and they were asking about, I think the term is prayaschitta. I'm not
Read my
sure.
books.
Yeah, that what is this? What the Srila Prabhupada said? Atonement means to read my books. So we have to, if we study. I spoke to one devotee. He says, "Oh, I don't read the books."
Wow.
He said, "I have no taste for reading the book." We have to read. Everything I am quoting comes from Srila Prabhupada's lectures, Srila Prabhupada's books. We have to really want to understand how it all works. Yeah.
Right. I made a contact with Atreya Rishi. He's about your age, I think 83, 84 years old. And he became disgusted with the movement when they became gurus.
Ah,
This
good.
11 men, but he reverted to his Sufi culture or whatever background
Ah,
he was. And I asked him, "Are you still a vegetarian?" He said, "Yes, I'm still a vegetarian." And so he appreciates his divine grace, his message. So I think he still has some wonderful feelings for Srila Prabhupada, but unfortunately, he whatever it is,
so he's following a different path now.
yeah, he's following a different path.
So he doesn't know or believe that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, it's possibly that because I mean Prabhupada, he was a manager type of person back in the 70s. He joined, he made lots of money and
Yes. I was, yeah, he's a manager. Sufis are the mystics of the Muslim faith.
yes.
But whereas the Muslims, they are, I'm looking for a word, the Sufis are the Mayavadis of the Muslim religion.
Oh.
They follow, they have poets like Rumi, you may
Yes,
have
yes,
heard.
Rumi. Yes, yes, exactly. He
So
mentioned.
I have examined online. So Rumi, he, like Srila Prabhupada says, there are Mayavadis in India who do puja.
Hmm.
They do devotional service activities, but their goal is to merge into God. So, like Srila Prabhupada explains, you may have heard this explanation, that they take doing devotional service like a ladder to get up to a certain platform, and when you reach the ladder, you throw away the. I mean, when you reach the platform, you throw away the ladder. So they do devotional service to become one with God, and when they become one with God, then they don't have to serve anymore. No more devotional service. So um, that is Rumi's feeling,
Yeah,
and
actually, you made a very good point. I actually sent him a message and he replied. I'll read it to you. Uh, I wrote to him, from your perspective as a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, have you, in your search, found another spiritual master as Srila Prabhupada in your search? So then I clarified, in your own tradition, which you belong to now. So he answers, yes. After Prabhupada, I had many teachers, not because
uh,
my guru was incomplete. My understanding was incomplete. So all these teachers showed me that the guide is one and there is only one truth. They helped me on the path to clean my heart and learn to have an alive heart to respond to reality appropriately. Basically, actually, true devotional service. Interesting, huh?
well, it's like Srila Prabhupada's preface. I always go back to that in Bhagavad
Yes,
Gita,
yes.
the last sentence or two, that we have done so much work to distribute this knowledge
Hmm.
all over the world. But if one person becomes a real devotee, I'll consider all this effort a
Right.
success. So, so it seems like it's
It seems like
well,
a very great mystery, at least.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
That Krishna, Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita 10:10 that it's the sincerity. If we don't understand all the scripture, but if we're really sincere, um, Krishna will continue to guide us from within our heart towards Him. Um, so, um, and the ability, it's also written in other places in our books, that the ability to recognize Krishna's pure devotee is is given in proportion to our sincerity to know Krishna. And if we're not really ready to know him, we won't be attracted to his pure devotee,
Hmm.
and we'll go elsewhere to find what we're looking for. And almost all religion on the planet is about how to enhance our life in the material condition. That's the whole business. People pray for health, for wealth, for social position, for success in their endeavors, for good family, good friends. They want, we're it's like the material world is like a prison house for rebellious souls. So religion for them is not how to get out of prison, it's how to have a good life in the prison. It's true. They, they're cultivating their attachment to the material world through the different religious practices.
Right.
That
Ah,
all karma kanda.
right.
It's
Yes. Yes. You mentioned this previously in our personal conversations that when you were temple president and you were working with the local Indian community, they were more or less interested in God being their order supplier.
completely because all of their bhajans were to the demigods.
Hmm.
And I say, we don't do this here, but they were paying the rent on the building.
So they got to
So
do what they wanted.
I
Was.
wasn't, I was there as a representative, but I didn't have the people in, that was Regina, Saskatchewan. The people in Vancouver were, I couldn't. interfere like that. They were trying to mutual exploitation.
Are you off recording?
In a minute. The devotees are trying to exploit the East Indian community because they're paying the mortgage on the building, and the East Indian community is trying to exploit the devotees because they would like to have a quote unquote priest on hand to take care of the temple, the building. So, um, but their whole business was to why? And the demigods cannot give a connection with God. They can only give material benefits, and that's what they're after. And they come together and they sing very joyfully and very happily, and they worship the demigods in their bhajans, and so, because they want material benefit, and that's their religion.
Yes. So, Jonas Priya, any comments before we end out our session here?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the very, very nice class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I have a kind of like a question, comment. I think that Krishna lets us experience material relationship love, either with a dog or a plant or another Jivatma, simply to, and then if we lose that relationship, we feel terrible. You know, if the dog dies, you feel terrible. Or if your partner lives, you feel like you're gonna die. And I think Krishna, and correct me if I'm wrong, Krishna lets us experience those feelings so we could understand this is how am I supposed to feel about Krishna. That if I could not see him, if I could not talk to him, if I could not have that relationship, then I should feel like that. So please enlighten me.
Well, Arjuna is feeling exactly that's his problem on the battlefield of Korea. He's saying, what if these people die? I'll feel bereft. But the fact is, why you are raising the point, why Krishna um, gives us this opportunity to feel this sense of loss, this sense of despair, this sense of sadness, that the whole purpose of the material world is to break our hearts. That's why we're here. We are in therapy. We wanted to be independent and be happy, separate from Krishna. And he said, okay. And he put us in this insane asylum called the material world. And where everybody thinks, now I'll be Alexander the Great, now I'll be Napoleon, now I'll be Donald Trump, etc., etc. And everyone's trying according to their ability, as far as their power extends, to be Lord of all, Srila Prabhupada, all we can survey, to exploit everything and to make it work, whether it's in a family situation or in a business or in a corporation or being a president of a country. Everybody's trying to, or a child in the playground. And the whole purpose of it is to break our heart. Because no matter how good it gets, we can't keep it. It will be taken from us, our health, our wealth, our body, everything, again and again and again until we become humble. And then when we become humble and we want to know, I want to know how I can really become happy, how I can become fulfilled. And when that sincerity is there, Krishna gives us the ability to understand this philosophy. Until we're that real desire and ability to say, to give up this feeling, independent pride, false pride of being an independent, self-sufficient person. Until that is, we're here to have that broken, slowly, slowly. For millions of births, we've been doing the same things, trying to be the enjoyer in different ways. And all, again, being eaten, eating others, being eaten by others, being stepped on, being crushed, getting growing old and dying, freezing to death, being in wars, dying of plagues, and being beheaded in a guillotine again and again and again until we're ready to hear. As soon as that feeling of that false pride of independence is getting smashed enough that we're ready, becoming humble enough to hear, then only Krishna gives us the ability to be able to listen and be attracted to this philosophy. So
Jai.
that's, so in a sense you're correct that these heartbreaking things, it's guaranteed. You have a dog, the dog will die. It's
Right.
guaranteed. You have a family, they will die. It's guaranteed. You will grow old. You will not be able to function like you did. You may be, you one way or another. We'll lose everything. We'll have to leave everything that we can't take anything with us. So we're in therapy. And Krishna, he loves us. He's with us in our heart, and he's waiting for us to be willing to hear from him. And when we are, he puts us in touch with the external manifestation of the Lord in the heart, who's the bona fide spiritual master, so we can hear. And it's as good and non-different than hearing from Krishna himself.
Like you quote, those who have the what is it? Ears to hear will hear. What does Jesus Christ quote?
Those who have ears,
Yeah,
let them hear.
yeah.
They know. Like Srila Prabhupada says, if one person becomes a real devotee, I'll consider the whole thing a success. Amazing. He means a real devotee. And it's all a question of how much we want it.
How much we want it, Jai. Hare Krishna. So, can you introduce the next topic, Ishan Prabhu? So it's gonna go.
Then it's going to be, what is love?
Hmm.
What is love? Because in this section, we're saying, Srila Prabhupada saying, without love, we can't advance. And
Hmm.
people say, oh, love. you know, so they're afraid of it. They think it means
Last or something.
ecstatic symptoms of devotional service. And so there's someone talks about love, they say, oh, he must be a sahaji,
Hmm.
a pretender. No, Srila Prabhupada is going to explain. We're going to try and explain through Srila Prabhupada's words, what is love? So we can know that we're capable in that way.
Jai.
That's so the next question, the next subject, the next lecture is, what is love?
All right. Okay, Ishan Prabhu, James Priya, thank you, Prabhus, for joining. We'll continue our session next week, same time, 12, unless things change. Thank you, Prabhus. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna,
for
Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhu.
Vanchakalpatruyasya kripa sindhaya patitanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnava.
Vaishnaveyo namo namaha.
Bye.
Haribol.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Jai.